Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Gino Bacola and the man, Barry Spears, the sniper, here to talk about some Gulfstream Park this weekend, the championship meet. And the championship meet has been running for a few weeks now, but to me, it sort of feels like this week with the really nice stakes races that we have on Saturday kick off like the real big portion moving forward. In a few days, we'll have Santa Anita open up day after Christmas. I believe Barry's going to join me to talk about some of those races when they come out tomorrow. So we'll probably be able to preview those on Saturday night. Very happy to be talking some racing with my friend Barry. How you doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, my man. Getting better every day. Just ready for this nice action that we got going on Friday and Saturday. It should be some good racing.
So we're going to look at the daily racing form, past performances. Like always, we encourage you to get to drf.com if you need any help with your handicapping. They have an entire section for the Gulfstream Park Championship meet where you can get past performances, picks, and clocker reports. And speaking of those clocker reports, now with Santa Anita starting up, you can also get the clocker reports for Santa Anita and for Gulfstream Park every single day. So you want to be able to check both of those out. We'll be looking at Gulfstream Park, whatever you need for those first-time starters, surface switches, and layoffs. And because it's Christmas, we'll be able to say hello to all of you. I'm actually going to be posting just the video for this week, and I won't be posting. Normally, I'll just use the audio and put it on the podcast too, so you'll be able to see the beautiful faces here as a Christmas present to all of you out there. So, Barry, I think we both have 3 plays for Friday and 3 for Saturday, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And we remind all of you, if you are looking to get involved with some action this weekend on top of the wagers that you're going to play, Stable Duel has Gulfstream Park contests on Friday. There are 2 different options for you with Stable Duel games. You can play in a double up, a $50 double up, or you can play in a $20 regular style game. So 2 different ways that you can get involved in those games for Friday. Saturday contests will be available. They'll pop up shortly, probably in the next day or so. Let's do it, my friend. You're going to kick things off. Race 2. You're going 2, 3, and 7 for Friday. I'm in races 2, 7, and 8. So we'll be sharing the screen in a few races. Let's both head on over to race number 2. We have a 5 furlong turf sprint, and you and I are recording this on Thursday. They were on the grass today.
Yeah, the weather should be okay. They may get some sprinkles here and there. Probably at least the weatherman is saying late Saturday. So it probably won't affect the racing at all. So it should be good.
And this is a 5 furlong turf sprint for maiden special weights here. These are lightly raced horses, 3-year-olds, though, at the end of this 3-year-old season. Talk to us about how you see this one playing out in here, Barry.
Yeah, this is an interesting race because, the favorite, or who I think will be the favorite, Alexis Zorba, kind of doesn't get it done. The horse shows a lot of speed and
Yep.
just doesn't finish races off. And I like betting against horses like that. I mean, look at his
4 times
last race.
already, right?
Right. His last race, he was 65 cents on the dollar and lost.
He's never been higher than 7-2, and he's been a 4-time beaten favorite so far. He's also been 5-2 and 7-2 when he got beat. He's faced some nice horses and he's been competitive with them, but it sort of seems like whatever level he's at, and even at different distances, he's just been a horse who will show some like speed, kind of stop.
Yeah, finds a way to lose basically. And I can't trust a horse like this. He has 6 starts, 4 seconds. I mean, that seems to be his MO. So we're gonna go against that horse for sure. And I ended up on number 5, Dundee. This horse is pretty interesting. The dam, made 115K on the turf, and is a half to a horse named Still My Babe that made 107,000, mostly sprinting. And this horse seems to have some speed. Safi does well with these kind of types of horses, especially off a little bit of a layoff. Second time out, they show so much improvement. This horse has speed. I think this is just the perfect spot because the horse has a race under his belt, which should definitely help. And with the 2 that we just talked about is kind of being a sort of a quitter, this horse should be right there to pick up the pieces. That's where I'm ending at 10-1. It's like I couldn't pass this one up.
And Dundee, as we showed you with DRF past performances, you can click on with the formulator and click on the dam right there and see what Barry was talking about, how there was success on the turf with the dam and a direct sibling that was really good sprinting on the turf. Dundee is a major player in here, 10-1. If you're playing in a stable dual contest, horse would only cost you $1,000 to use in your stable dual lineup. Barry, I'm going to go to a horse that reminds me of a horse that I played when we talked a few weeks ago. There's a horse named Headline News that came in from Laurel Park, that Toner trained, that had a pretty good race and that won and that looked to have some ability. And I think Exercise of Power is pretty interesting here. I guess my main concern is just the inside draw, but I wanted to watch the race and show the folks out there some of the things that I like. We're looking at the number 4 in this race that we're watching. This is Exercise of Power, and this was back in October. This was his first start. So he was right there with the pack, but he was down inside. And what I like is that he sort of took back and then right away showed a little bit of handiness because he could move right up to the inside and get some positioning. But he's down there and watch the shuffle coming up for the number 4 in here as he's traveling pretty well. And he just gets stopped real badly here with all of his momentum going. When everyone's going forward, he's getting pushed backwards a couple different lengths. Now, it's just a brutal trip. But he ends up angling around, even right here with the green cap. Look, he's searching for some room. He finds some. He's just kind of trying to weave through traffic, and he's got some run late. He tips to the outside, and he really shows some ability here, Barry. We just saw how much ground he lost with that early trip. You could see a nice stride on him moving forward. I think he ends up just losing the bob for second here with the horse down to his inside where they were just in a tight photo, but thought that was a really good performance from Exercise of Power. We've already seen this barn send over a horse from Laurel that won against these probably better maiden special weight horses down here at Gulfstream Park. If this horse can just get a nice trip from down inside and not get that same shuffle again, I think he'll be very live and come running.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta believe that race really did a lot for that horse experience wise, and should build on that. I don't see this horse not improving unless something really crazy happens at the start or something like that. But that's definitely a good find in a race like this where we both are in agreement that the favorite isn't the way to go here.
Yep, beatable. And we're both looking for horses that we think can sit a little bit off. Barry is looking for Dundee to be just right behind that favorite. We'll see where Exercise of Power is, likely a little bit farther. But horses like this who have only one start, a lot of times they can show different tactics in their second start or really early on in their career. So with the inside draw, I wouldn't be shocked to see them be a little more forwardly placed just to try to stay out of as much traffic as possible. And a couple works on the turf since that debut race. Lots of positives here for the horses Barry and I are looking at 5 and 10-1. So that's race number 2. Barry, you're going to go next door to the 1 mile on the dirt, right, for Florida Breds, first level allowance, optional claimer?
Yes, yes, indeed. This is an interesting race all the way around because, again, you have a horse in the 1, Lucky Peridot, that is a closer on the rail going a mile, which isn't the best thing you could possibly want. Not only that, I, I don't think this race is really going to heat up front. You have Steel Racer who has some speed, gets Louis size, so you know he's probably going to be forwardly placed with this filly. But I can't trust a horse like this. It's too inconsistent. The horse ran good back in July at Ellis, going this weird mile trip that they have, and then kind of fell off. They put the horse in non-winners of 2 at a higher level at Churchill, then go to Keeneland at a little bit lower level, then drops again and wins at 7 furlongs, but seemed to have kind of the run of the race. And
He seems
I don't
really
really think that
one-dimensional
they're
too,
gonna.
right? She does.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and
really
I
need the
can't trust
leady.
that.
Yep. Because like what if Principa
So
shows a little bit of speed,
well, that's who
right?
I
And
ended
pushes
up with. That's who I ended
exactly.
up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, Principa is the horse here. I mean, just based on the class level that this horse has been running, might give this one a bit of an advantage, and the form is actually muddied up just enough where I think that a with the nondescript jockey and the nondescript connections, that price is probably going to go up. But I don't think that Principa is going to really let Street Racer get away, and I
I
don't think
agree.
they're going to go extremely fast. It looks like those two will have the run of the race, and it's just a
Yep.
matter of who outlasts who. Um, I just don't want them to get into an all-out speed duel, which is a possibility, but I don't really think that Principa is gonna really kind of press the issue. I think they're gonna sit right off of Street Racer and kind of stalk and pounce, which seems to be a great trip. So, trying to throw down field from deep. And I think that the stalking trip might be the one here. So,
Yeah, I
Principa is
agree.
where I'll land. That a nice workout on November 5th. I think this one's ready to go.
When, a couple things that are a little deceiving too. On August the 27th, in that optional 25 first level allowance, ran behind Three Witches, who comes back to win a graded stakes out of that and finish third in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That's a really quality horse that she was behind. This is like a massive like class relief from facing a horse like that. And Adios Baby was another one there who came back out to win against Open Company. So I just think the races that this horse comes out of, you're right, are very strong. And this is a horse who's going to be in a good spot. So you pointed out something which I think is the real key as a gambler, like especially with a horse like this. Is she the most likely winner of the race? No. But is she likely to outrun her odds because of
Probably not.
trip and class? Right? Yes. And at a price, those are horses that we need
Yeah.
to use as gamblers. Are they going to get the trip? Are they going to be a good price? Could they be in the right spot? Yes, they're worth a play, even if they're not the most likely winner. You got to figure out what do you want to do. Are you trying to cash tickets or are you trying to make money long term?
Right. And the thing is about that is, it's not far-fetched to think that this horse can be competitive in this race based on
Absolutely.
those factors that you just mentioned. And when you get a long shot or a price horse that have these kind of credentials that will probably be overlooked because as a gambler from a gambling perspective, you have to kind of predict a little bit what's going on with all the commotion that happens with late odds drops and things like that. You kind of try to have to kind of play above those factors.
Yep.
And when you can pinpoint a horse that you think that's probably not going to get too much action and be around their morning line, even with the late odds drops, because we know it's probably the late odds drop are probably going to go to the one. The horse's 75 morning line probably
Yep.
end up, I'd say, probably 3 to 5 or lower at post time, which will naturally bring Principa's price up. So, those are things that you have to kind of be aware of and conscious of when you're making these kind of decisions. So, I'm willing to take a shot here. The field isn't that great per se. This one has a little bit of class edge. Why not?
We both will move to race number 7, and then I'm going to finish us up in the 8th race. So we'll see in this 7th race. It's an optional 62. Nice field here, lining up for a mile where you'll have, like a lot of horses who are solid, honest horses, picking up pennies from the inside, has good speed. Black Belt is a sharp horse who's been in very nice form. Positive Review is interesting. You can probably eliminate that last race. But to me, the reason why we're attacking this race is because you have a horse like Dynamic One who's going to take a ton of money, probably be 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 coming off a long layoff, and a horse who probably wants to go farther than this and looks to be using this race as a nice foundation and a prep, and then probably jump into some stakes races later in the year.
Yeah, I had the same assessment. There's a lot of speed in
Yep.
this race. The horses in here, the one picking up pennies needs to be forwardly placed. Black belt definitely going to be up on the pace. Positive review with Luis Saez definitely going to be up front, kind of forcing the issue. Even the 5 will get into the mix. Slim Slow Slider will probably get in the mix. Boca Boy getting in the mix. I landed on number 8, Cook Creek.
That's the horse
I
that feels
think
like
this
is going to
horse
get
has
the trip, right?
kind of done his best work at right, exactly, at Gulfstream. He's going to probably get the jump on Dynamic One, who, like you said, probably wants to go farther than this. And I think Jose Ortiz is going to get this horse in the right position, make that one run, and kind of blow by all this front running speed. It just sets up very, very well for this horse. Then you add in the last workout on December 13th, which is stellar. This horse seems to fire off the bench pretty well. I think this is a great spot for Cook Creek.
Cook Creek is a horse I have to use in all exotics because what you're talking about. This is just a horse who feels like the most obvious horse that's going to get a good trip in here. Like looking all the way through, the horse who I landed on, I have to sort of hope for the trip that I'm projecting. And that's the number 3, who you kind of mentioned a little bit. And I'll get back to Positive Review, because Positive Review is a horse when in watching his races, I just don't think he's nearly as fast as a lot of these others in this field. And I think because of that, it'll end up putting him in a really nice spot. He's actually shown, even back in early 2022, that if he has to be 4 or 5 lengths off of it, he can close into that type of a race and run really well when he finished 3rd here at Gulfstream there. And he's never really been a right on the lead. He's sort of secured position just behind the lead. And I'm just kind of looking at the rest of this field like you were, and I think he might be the 4th or 5th fastest in here, which could put him in the spot I'm looking for. So I'm hoping Saez will get a little aggressive.
Right, a pocket
and then
spot, basically.
Yep. And then sit off there because, we look at Hurricane J, who won that race wire to wire, and there was no passing in that race. Positive Review, I think it was honestly a toss type race. It wasn't like overwhelming trouble, but he was chasing lone speed. He was down inside. He got shuffled a little bit, and then he just didn't want to come on again afterwards in a race where there wasn't much speed. But Barry, we think
Also
this race should
favored
shape
that
up
day too.
Right? Exactly. He took money that day. So I think he's a pretty good fit. It just comes down to trip with him.
Yeah. And Louis savvy enough to kind of back off and get the quintessential Louis Saez trip, which is the greatest stalking trip ever, and that's really when he does his best work rather than on the lead. So this one kind of fits the bill, and you're right, depending on how it shakes out, they're not all going to go for the lead. If they do, that's probably very good for Dynamic One, but if you can kind of take a couple of those out, it'll even the race off, and then you have horses like Cook Creek and Positive Review kind of sort of trying to vie for that same trip. But either one in this spot seems very logical.
And Mike Welsh has an article on drf.com talking about how Dynamic One was going to choose between this, possibly the Harlan's Holiday next week, which is usually served as a prep for the Pegasus, but they're going to maybe use this spot a little bit softer, try to get a good race under him, and then maybe he goes to the Pegasus on January the 27th. So, yeah, could be could be a nice year for a horse like this as an older horse against better, but this feels like the spot to try to beat him at a shorter distance when he's better going longer, and this is his first start in a few months. Not the game plan, not the goal.
Correct. And that's always something to keep in mind too, especially with, these horses from bigger outfits. They got eyes on bigger prizes later on, and they might not be cranked up all the way, and that's the time you can kind of get a price in a race where they're going to get bet heavily.
Barry, I've got one more for Friday at Gulfstream Park. Then you and I will flip to Saturday. We each have a few for Saturday as well. So the 8th race on Friday will be a mile on the turf course here. And I'm going to look at the one Stride. Stride's interesting to me because this is a horse who's been really consistent on both turf synthetic, really on all turf synthetic and on the dirt as well. Stride should get a really nice spot from the inside. And if you go through this horse's overall career, he's run 10 times. Early on, he was good to start his first few races. He has 2 races really that you can eliminate. And then his most recent race, he was chasing lone speed. So like all of the races where he doesn't show up and fire a really good effort, like legitimate excuses. And now he's going to go back to turf. He's going to basically get the start over now after a couple months off. And looking at the way this race shapes up, I think he's going to save ground. He'll come running nicely. He's probably one of the stronger closers in this field because I'm seeing Swashbuckle, who is going to be forwardly placed in here. He's really quick. I'm seeing Wide Right, who's going to be forwardly placed in here. I'm seeing Leo Monte, who's going to be forwardly placed in here. I'm seeing another one to the outside, Jester's Honor, who's going to be forwardly placed in here. And this is something we talk about when there's more than 2 speeds. It looks like there might be 4. So even if 1 or 2 of these horses take back, I still feel like this should be a very honest pace, honest enough for this horse to save ground from the inside and come running fresh in here. Barry, I like Stride at 5-1.
Yeah, that horse is really interesting. One of the things that hopefully that Edgar Zayas isn't going to do is kind of use the horse too much early.
Yep.
If he can kind of float out there and naturally get that trip like he got on August 4th and June 18th, that's going to be ideal in this race.
So we finish up Friday. Wish you all the best of luck on Friday at Gulfstream Park, but we'll turn the page to Saturday, where we each will take a look at 3 different races for the Saturday card. So as I flip to Saturday, the past performances, tell everyone what you've got going on with going in circles, with Big Mondays, with the website, and anything else you want to mention.
Yeah, we're still plugging along. We got that website, Racing Hub, where we're going to do a lot more after the new year with it. And it's going to be more than just horse racing. We're going to do some basketball and football, baseball, hockey. So we're going to do a little bit of everything. Just commentary. Sometimes we'll do some picks. We'll do a little bit of everything. So it should be a good place for everybody to come see us. We're going to post our Going in Circles Big Monday shows on there, which we do every Monday, including on Christmas. I think we're going to do a show on Christmas Day.
Awesome.
So that'll be cool. But yeah, things are looking up. I mean, the heart attack thing kind of got in the way for a little bit, but
yeah, just sort of gotten it's a heart attack, right?
Yeah, it's just an inconvenience, right?
Yeah, just a minor little blip, but back stronger, better than ever, just weeks off of that. And we're all very happy that you're feeling good. You're sounding good. You got a little bounce in your step too. I can tell you've just excited to be talking some races now, especially at Gulfstream with these good Gulfstream Park races now, man, where they're in your home court, right?
Yeah, okay. It's so much fun, man. It's so much fun. And then, when the championship meet really gets going, it's just like, all right, yeah, this is what we're waiting for.
Well, you're waiting for Saturday out there, folks. We've got it for you right now. And I'm going to get things started in race number 2. Then we'll flip to Barry. He's going to look at races 6 and 8, and then I'll get to 9 and 10. Barry's also got one in the 9th with me there. So a little bit of a price here in race number 2. This is a mile and a 16th on the turf. We've got maiden special weight 2-year-olds. I'm looking at, honestly, another horse that comes in from Laurel Park. I talked about one on Friday who had a good race recently at Laurel Park. Here's another one, the number 6, Modica, who's going to take the blinkers off. Now, he's a 2-year-old who's raced 3 times, and I want to look at some of the horses he's faced in those races. He debuted at Saratoga. He finished 4th that day after showing a little bit of early speed, But the horses who finished in front of him were Carson's Run, who's a grade 1 winner, won the summer, was a really good second in the With Anticipation. And this horse was only 8-1 in the Breeders' Cup and was only beaten just over 3 lengths in the Juvenile Turf. Like a really nice horse for Christophe Clement. The runner-up that day was a horse named Moonlight. He won his next start by 8 lengths at Aqueduct when the race was taken off the grass. And then he went on to the Street Sense and the Remsen and ran pretty well in both of those, finishing second and fourth. And so he's got some ability too. Frontline Warrior was another one who he's faced, who has since come back and is a maiden special weight winner and then was in a stakes race. So that was just that debut race where Modica was fourth. Then in his second start, he went over to Kentucky. Again, faced like some nice horses. The winner that day came back after winning and took a shot against Stakes Company afterwards. We just showed you Frontline Warrior. Smokey, the third place finisher, has since come back and won a maiden special weight race. You saw Ty Muse, who was also in there. He came back and won a maiden special weight race. So it's a horse who faced pretty nice company in his first 2 races. I'm not discouraged that he wasn't right there on the wire with some of those horses who were pretty solid. He had a few months off, and he shows back up in November at Laurel Park. And what I really liked was that race, he completely misses the break. He hops at the start, and after showing speed in his first 2 races, totally different dynamic. And when that happens for a lot of horses, they just kind of pack it in. Hey, I'm a speed horse. I'm used to being up front. This is totally different for me. But that was not the case at all. He kind of waited a little patiently early, and then they tipped 3 wide. He made this nice, sustained move. And if you notice, he was second. He was beaten 4 lengths. He wasn't going to win that day, but he was 7 lengths clear of the third place finisher. He ran like a winning type race. And now he'll make his second start back. And Barry, I don't know what it was the last couple of weeks, but it's been all Luis Saez in me, right? Like every horse I've been looking at seems to have Saez aboard. So I'm hoping it's going to be another good weekend for him. I think this horse is very live, faced nice company, second start back off the short break. They'll take the blinkers off a little bit now because, maybe there's something about the horse being a little either eager and maybe that was like the reason for the bad start, even that the horse was kind of antsy and just sort of missed the break, hoping they can get the horse to relax a little bit. I think it's a really nice spot for this horse who, look at the rest of the field. There's one horse who has a real standout buyer speed figure, and that's Enlighten. And if you eliminate Enlighten and that speed figure, everybody else has been really comparable. And I think this horse could be very, very competitive if Enlighten isn't just way better than this field and runs away and hides.
Should be sort of a tough trip for Enlighten. I don't really think that horse is going to get a
That's soft.
a real comfortable trip from that post position and then the running style. So it's definitely a kind of play against in this spot. And I think you got one of the right ones here, but these races are awfully, awfully tough.
They're fun to dive into. These are like the Gulfstream Park, these races, and then those like first level allowance races, those like 75 optional claimers for the 3-year-old, the 2-year-olds now that are going to be 3-year-olds that you feel like you'll find a Derby horse or two. So that's my first play, 12-1 on the morning line. If you're playing in a stable dual lineup, that horse will only cost you $750 to use. So really nice horse to include in your lineups there. I will pass the baton to Barry for race number 6 on Saturday, Barry. So set us up for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to continue the theme with Luis Saez.
Let's do it, Louis.
I think he's going to have a multiple win day on Friday and Saturday. I think he's going to win a couple races, if 2, 3, maybe even 4. But I went to this. Basically, it's a 25,000 non-winners or 2 claimer. Kind of the cheapies. But I went with Wild Wish, and if you look at this horse, he's been primarily sprinting, and you can see back April 26th Horse ran a pretty decent race going 5 at Tampa. And you can clearly see the horse has improved since then. Although, running on the synthetic, the horse still improved all the way up until he got a layoff back in October. Comes back and, you see the weak buyer, but you also see the comment bump start. And that did happen. It's actually what happened after that point that is key, because the horse got shuffled back and really lost all kinds of chance, especially going 5 on the synthetic. There's not really much you can do to recover if you get shuffled back and have to go around. It's very, very tough to recover from that in a short race like that. I think the stretch out makes a lot of sense. Um, and I think the rider switch to Louis Saez makes a lot of sense, because I don't believe there's that much speed in here. And the horses that have shown speed are going to be 1,000,000,000 to 1.
And
And
they've been
I
doing a
think
lot of
Louis
it
is
going
good at,
longer.
right. And I think the stretch out makes all the difference. I don't think this horse actually needs the lead, but I think this horse has to be close up and get kind of the quintessential Louis size ride, stalking behind the speed. And being on the rail, definitely a plus, because this horse can get that position and kind of hold it. And that's what Louis does. Safi is great. Second time off the layoff. This fits the bill. All systems go for Wild Wish.
Wow Wish 8-1 on the morning line. So if you were playing in Stable Duel, this would cost you 3,000. It's a great horse to use in some of your multis and your rolling exotics there. Wow Wish. Yeah, probably only having to deal with like one or two others that even look like they're speed type horses. And I think he's at least as quick as them. So he should be able to kind of pick and choose what they want to do. A little bit of a makeover package too, where you're adding the blinks, you get a little
Blinkers.
drop in class, first time gelding there, and a rider switch. So doing whatever they can to try to get this guy into the winner's circle.
Yeah, I love the makeover packages, as you know. It's always a good sign of intent. Like they're really trying to win this race, and I think Wild Wish is going to have a great trip.
Okay, we will now shift to some of the stakes races. There are 4 in a row to end the card. Some really nice ones too. Barry, you're going to start in race number 8, which is the Tropical Park Oaks, mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. Some nice ones in there. Horse like Cairo Consort, who last year at the end of 2022 and then early on into 2023 showed a lot of ability. She was really, really honest and nice as a 2-year-old and early into her 3-year-old season. We haven't seen her since May. She'll take a good amount of money in here. You also look towards the outside, and I think a lot of these horses will take some good support, where you have Startup Mentality for Chad Brown. You have Breath Away for Christophe Clement. You have Implicated for Chad Brown. They all feel like they're going to be pretty live in here, but it's not a situation where it just seems like there's one horse. Like this is a contentious race. This is a fun one. Talk to us about who strikes your fancy.
Yeah, in a situation like this, I always think of the Fat Joe quote, where he says, "Yesterday's price is not today's price."
Love
And
it.
I have that feeling with horses like Cairo Consort that were decent last year, coming in off a long layoff. If there's any time to beat these types,
Right now.
it's in a situation like this. Drawing the rail is probably not the best thing. And I think that there's some options here. I ended up on number 10, Breath Away. Now, this horse fits the criteria of something that I love in horses when they come back running. This horse was laid off since June, went all the way out west to Santa Anita, and didn't run all that bad. Got beat by 2 pretty good horses in Anisette and Ruby Nell, who probably would be favored in this spot.
And Ruby
Even though they
Nell
are kind of
is a
California
lone
horses,
speed horse
it's
too.
pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and Breathaway didn't really get a chance to really stretch her legs. Now, if you go back to the Hilltop, this horse lost to a Spray as the favorite, which is a Chad Brown kind of monster type horse. Uh, but before that, this horse has shown a great closing kick. I like the comeback race. shipping back east should make all the difference. I think this horse will be somewhere around that, 9-2, maybe dip down to 4-1. But I like this horse a lot in this spot, especially given Cairo Concert hasn't run, didn't have a kind of a prep for this. It just makes a lot of sense that Breath Away would be a lot sharper now rather than maybe 3 races down the line. So we're gonna go with the 10 and get this money for sure.
This is my top selection in here. Also, Breath Away. Just looking at the rest of the field, you just feel like there's enough contenders to take money. Like Startup Mentality is going to take a little money. Also, I mentioned Implicated is going to take some money. Cairo Consort will. So this horse should be just like you're saying, like in that above 7-2 or 7-2 range, and with a couple others shorter. So that's very fair in a race like this. And I think a race where if this horse runs well, like you and I think, might not be playable in the next race or two against some of these other horses if they keep facing off against each other in some similar prep races. So I think it's a
Right.
really good opportunity to try to strike on this one right now.
Right. And it's one of those things where the situation just demands that that's the play because this horse is probably going to run well. Coming out of this race, who knows? But I think this is the time.
So that's a look at Barry's second play for Saturday. I'll give you my second play in race number 9. That'll also be where Barry has his final play for Saturday. And then I'll finish this up in race number 10. But this last stretch of, the last 4 races, very, very nice, where you have, all stakes. So 9th race and the 10th race are both graded stakes races. And in the 9th, Barry, I'll start us off here. We're both in this one. This is a horse who I like, and it's another situation where I'm hoping she gets the trip that I want. But you and I have talked about it a few times. Sometimes with like Irad, who is always going to stack up some of the best stats out there and, wants to win races as much as anyone. I think his strength is more of coming from off the pace, right? Making wider moves and that kind of judge versus a horse that has some speed. Should I go or should I kind of make the decision to sit? But I really do think in here, like there are others with speed that puts her in a nice spot. She's going to cut back. I just don't think she's as fast as like a horse like maybe My Destiny down to the inside, who's, been showing speed recently, and maybe one or two others, even, Magna Massa, right inside Intrepid Daydream. All 3 of them could be quicker than Olivia Darling. And I'm looking at her overall form. To me, Barry, she just really looks like a horse that wants to be from about 5.5 to 6.5. 7 furlongs was a little too far for her last time. Look at her races going a mile when she debuted, the 7 furlong race in her third start, the other 7 furlong race in March when she faded. The races at 6 and 6.5 are just better. And that's because of her running style, because she can sit just off. She can press speed horses at a pretty fast clip and have a little bit of finish. She just can't do it at 7. It's just too much. It takes a little too much out of her with the way she runs. But she does have that sort of style where if he can place her just off of the speeds, she might be able to kind of wear others down. That's the trip I'm hoping for with her. But you've got to play in this race. Talk to us about who you like and how you see this thing playing out.
Yeah, I think we see it kind of similarly, except I went to the 2, My Destiny, just off the fact that this horse has been kind of traveling around. Um,
Honest horse, man.
and
She's honest.
yes, she's very honest and kind of does her best work at Gulfstream as well. I mean, you see that race on March 24th, kind of wins going away. Obviously, it's a lesser race, but
That's the exact
if you
trip
go
you're
back
looking at.
exactly, and I think this horse, showing speed in those other races, especially at like Mahoning Valley and Remington, which are kind of lesser tracks. But even that day at Remington, the horse really wasn't on the lead, but just was better than everybody else in that field and kind of blew him away. And I think this horse is going to sit an excellent trip. There's enough speed in here to run that. And then the two workouts, one on November 11th and then December 15th is the greatest tightener. I think all systems are go for My Destiny. And honestly, I think that price might go up a little bit.
It was funny when our two horses that we like in this race faced each other back in February. They both ran really well, and they ran second and third, and they weren't far off each other that day. They were behind, Drioforos,
Right.
who's
I
a
was
very
there that
nice
day
horse.
at
Yeah, I was
Tampa.
going to
I
say,
was
I
there.
thought you were
Yeah.
there that day. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Carmel Swirl was fourth in that race, who's a very solid multiple
Yeah.
graded stakes winner, too. And the winner is that really nice horse who had put together, I think, four in a row before getting DQ'd. Or I think was DQ'd that day. Yeah, had won all four in a row and then was DQ'd and put up from third to second in the Hurricane Birdie. But we're both sort of looking at the exact same thing, right? We have horses who have some speed, but we're hoping they can get the tracking trip too, which they've also shown they can sit just off.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Olivia Darling kind of surprised me. That horse started running really well after he changed hands into the Delgado barn, and just kind of came into her own. And like you said, the 7 furlong is just a bit too far. 6 is probably her optimal distance, and that's what she's getting.
And with some of these horses that are like either sprinters, it's because of the way, like the style that they run, where it's just a little bit harder for them to put the pressure on all the way, all
Right.
the way
You can't
throughout that
step
race.
on the gas, yeah, and just kind of
It,
get a couple of runs out of a horse that's going to be up front, and that's tough to do.
Yep. So we're hoping we can both get that nice tracking spot right behind and set a good trip. Both of the horses we like are 6-1 on the morning line. So fair prices in some of your late exotics. Great to use in your stable dual lineups because that's $5,000 price that you want to use in your salary cap. So that's right at the average you need to fill a 10-horse lineup. Barry, I'm going to flip to the Mr. Prospector in race number 7. And there are two horses actually I wanted to mention in this race. This is another really another race number 10, 7 furlongs in the Mr. Prospector. Two horses I think will get nice trips and are going to be good prices. Because with the one Great Navigator drawing the rail, he's not necessarily a need the lead speed horse, but I think they're going to have to try to use him a little more than they would like to because they want to secure positioning and just make sure he's not in a bad spot too far behind. Following that, you're going to have Win From Within, who's got speed. He showed speed going a little bit longer. You've got Hurricane J, who's quick. He'll be on the front end. We just talked about him a little while earlier, and we were talking about horses coming out of the Hurricane J race. And you got Long Range Toddy, who's been showing more speed recently. Sibelius, who comes out of pretty quick races. The two horses I like have a little versatility to them, but the key is they can both pass horses. They're right next to each other. The 6 Dreaming of Kona and the 7 Gilmore. And Gilmore is a horse who we've seen a lot of times last year, but in, I think, tougher spots. In races where he was facing like pretty nice horses a lot of the time, sometimes the top 3-year-olds. Like he faced New York Thunder, Saudi Crown, Arabian Lion, Fort Bragg, and General Jim running pretty well in the Pat Day Mile in the race that broke Barry's heart that day, where Fort Bragg ran too good to lose and Gilmore wasn't far behind him. But just kind of, yeah, I didn't mean to bring it up again. Didn't mean to rub it in. Just wanted to give you a little credit for the good handicapping, but I know it stings when it gets mentioned because that was a tough one. But he's a good fit at this level. At grade 1s and against a little tougher company, I never thought he was quite that quality. But in this spot, going 7 furlongs, he's not going to be on the lead, but he's got plenty of races where he doesn't have to be way, way out of it. And I think is the same kind of running style for the 6 Dreaming of Kona, where earlier on in his career, he was showing a little more speed. And then they tried to go longer a few times. The Sam F. Davis in the Tampa Bay Derby, and didn't work out. So now they've turned him back, and look at the races where he shortened up a little bit. They tried the grass. It's okay to cross that race right out. The Gallant Bob was on a sloppy racetrack. Just eliminate those 2 races right there. Eliminate the races going long. Now you're left with races that are very good from 6 furlongs to a mile. And that's right where we're going to be right here. So these are two horses I think are interesting to either throw in, your contest plays or using your pick fours, because you'll have the one that'll take a lot of money, and you'll have the outside horse, Sibelius, from a class standpoint, take a lot of money. And I don't think either of them are going to get the best trips in this race, Barry.
I think that Dreaming of Kona is one of those types of horses that can kind of get it done here at a decent price, because I think they're going to overlook this horse. And
Me too.
this horse has been running with some really tough competition, and it just kind of makes sense this spot, first of all, because and then the setup is really good. At 15-1, I think you're going to get all of that price and then some. And those are the kind of horses that can make you rich basically,
Yep.
when they hit in a pick 5 sequence, pick 3, pick 4. I mean, these are the types of horses that you want to bet, and I think Dreaming of Kona fits the bill here.
15-1, right next door. Gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives a Happy Gilmore? Oh my God, Gilmore here, gonna win that gold jacket like I never did. Great one. Just a great one. So Barry, my friend, we finish up with Gulfstream Park for
Great movie.
yeah, we finish up for Saturday. You and I will be back though in a couple days before Christmas to talk some Santa Anita. But what's on your Christmas agenda? What do you guys end up doing as a family? Do you have anything you go do Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or you kind of take it low key? What's in the Spears family on Christmas time?
Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, you know, taking it really easy, especially this year,
With the
after
health
all the
wise,
health
right?
issues
Yeah,
and all that
lay
stuff.
low.
It's probably a good time to, right, everybody gets to breathe. And I think we're just gonna hang out. My wife's gonna cook on Sunday for my father-in-law, and everybody's gonna come over to the house. So, we should have a good time. I was looking forward to it, especially the fact that I missed Thanksgiving completely.
Yeah.
This kind of makes up for it.
So for all of you out there, Barry and I will record on Saturday evening, Saturday night. That way for Christmas Eve and Christmas, when you're doing some of your driving around, if you need any thing to throw on in the background while you're in between to help get you ready for your handicapping for Santa Anita for the day after Christmas, I'll be heading out there to Santa Anita doing some work for DRF. So I'll be posting a little bit, some videos and some pictures and some stuff here and there. So that should be fun, taking it in live on day after Christmas there. But I look forward to talking with you in just a few days. I hope everyone has a great few days leading into your Christmas. I've been very Christmas mode-y this year. We actually went to Santa's Village a few days ago. I just
Yeah, I
posted
saw
that. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. We drove up right by Big Bear. So we were up in the mountains, and Milo's had a Christmas party. We went and drove around in one of these areas, Hastings Ranch up in Pasadena, that has a lot of lights that have each street decorated with like different themes, and they get all done up. So we've had some fun times. For my son this year now at 4, he sort of understands Christmas now and Santa and everything. He gets it. So
this is a good age for that.
yeah, it is. It's been a blast. He really gets it. So we're having fun with that, and got plenty of movies to watch. I've got my Christmas soundtracks rolling in the background. Oh Holy Night, one of my personal favorites there. So if you guys hear some crazy person singing Oh Holy Night, it's probably me annoying my family on that one. Barry, my friend, look forward to chatting with you again in just a few days, buddy. Like always, thanks so much for the hard work.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. You call me and I'm here. So it's such a
Batman,
fun thing
baby.
to do this every week with you. I mean, yeah, Batman and Robin. Let's do this.
Yep, we throw the signal up, and Barry is there. Thanks to all of you for hanging out. We'll be back in a few days to talk about one of the better days of racing of the year. Opening day at Santa Anita. Going to have a ton of stakes races on tap, some real quality racing there. So we're excited as the entries come out for those on Friday. Make sure to look to drf.com when those entries come out. And anytime you need any help handicapping the races for Gulfstream Park, shop.drf.com. We'll see you back here in a few days talking some Santa Anita. Good luck this weekend at Gulfstream Park.